They did not build this system to clean the air. They built it to own you. If you drive a diesel truck made after 2010, there's a system sitting between you and your engine that was never designed to last. It was designed to expire. And when it does not just cost you money, it costs you the truck. It costs you the job. It costs you the farm run, the haul, the workday. And the people who built it knew exactly what they were doing when they put it there. This is the DEF system, diesel exhaust fluid. And this is the proof that it was engineered to fail on a timeline that benefits everyone except you. Let us start with what they actually tell you. The dealership will tell you DEF is simple. It's just urea solution. You top it off, you drive, the system handles the rest. They will hand you a brochure. They will smile. They will tell you the emission system on your new truck is virtually maintenance-free. That phrase, virtually maintenance-free, has cost diesel owners across this country more money than any single engine failure in the last 20 years. Because what they don't tell you is that the DEF system is not one part, it's a chain of components, every single one of them temperature-sensitive, software-dependent, and fragile in ways that were completely predictable before the trucks left the factory. You have the DEF tank, you have the DEF pump, you have the DEF injector, also called the dosing injector. You have the diesel oxidation catalyst. You have the diesel particulate filter. You have the selective catalytic reduction system. And tying all of it together, you have a sensor network reporting back to a control module that decides at any given moment whether your truck is allowed to run. That last part is what nobody talks about in the showroom. If any single component in that chain fails, and they do fail, the truck doesn't just throw a warning light. The truck goes into what the manufacturers call inducement mode. First, your power gets cut. Then your speed gets capped. Then, if the fault isn't cleared, the truck will derate so severely that you're crawling. And if it goes far enough, the truck will not restart after the next shutdown. A $250 sensor on a $90,000 truck can leave you stranded on the side of a highway in January with a loaded trailer behind you, and there's nothing you can do about it without a dealer scan tool or a very specific delete solution, one of which costs you 3 hours and $500 at a minimum, and the other of which is federally illegal. That's not a safety feature. That's a hostage situation. Now, here's where the design gets interesting, because this is where the proof of intent starts to show. The DEF injector on most late-model diesel applications, Ford Powerstroke, Duramax, Cummins Ram, is positioned in the exhaust stream. It sprays urea solution directly into hot exhaust gases. Over time, and we're talking 20 to 40,000 miles under real towing conditions, the tip of that injector carbons up. It crystallizes. The deposits get so hard they require removal, soaking, and in most cases, full replacement. That's a known failure mode. That was a known failure mode before the first DEF-equipped truck ever rolled off the line. The engineers knew it. The emission system designers knew it. The parts department certainly knew it because they set the pricing accordingly. A replacement DEF injector on a 6.7 Powerstroke runs anywhere from $400 to over $700 depending on the model year, and that's before labor. On a Duramax, the DEF pump itself, which sits inside the DEF tank and is notorious for contamination failure, especially if you accidentally top it off with the wrong fluid, costs between $600 and $1,200 to replace. And because the pump is submerged in the tank, the labor time on a lot of these trucks is brutal. Now, stack the DPF on top of that. The diesel particulate filter traps soot. It's supposed to self-clean through a process called regeneration, where the engine burns off the accumulated soot at high temperatures. That works reasonably well on trucks that spend time at highway speed. It does not work well on trucks that spend a lot of time idling, doing short trips, sitting on a farm or job site. The regen cycle needs sustained heat to complete. If it doesn't complete, the filter loads up.
When the filter loads up past a certain threshold, the truck derates, and when the DPF gets to the point where forced regeneration won't clean it anymore, you're looking at either a $500 cleaning service or a full DPF replacement, which on a Cummins-equipped Ram can run over $2,000 for the unit alone. And again, the engineers knew this. Short-haul and farm-use diesels were always going to have regeneration problems. The duty cycles were always going to fight the system. The guys who wrote the service intervals knew the average American working diesel truck wasn't going to live on the highway like a long-haul semi. They built it anyway, because the failure wasn't a bug, it was a feature of the parts revenue model. Mechanics know this. Any independent diesel shop that's been running since 2011 or 2012 will tell you the same thing. The first few years after DEF hit the market, they were seeing DEF pump failures, injector crystallization, NOx sensor failures, SCR catalyst deterioration, all on trucks with under 100,000 miles, some under 60,000. And when the customer brought it back to the dealer, in many cases, the dealer couldn't fix it without a software update that also reset the inducement counter. A process the independent shop could not legally perform because the manufacturer had locked the diagnostic authority behind a paid subscription portal. That is the other piece they never mention. The software that controls your emission system is not your software. You do not own it. You paid for the truck, but the code that decides whether your truck will start tomorrow morning belongs to the manufacturer, and they can change the terms of access anytime they want. So what do you do with that? Some guys are turning to pre-emissions trucks, and not because they want to break the law, because they want to own something. A first-generation Cummins 12-valve from the early 90s has no diesel exhaust fill tank, no diesel particulate filter, no selective catalytic reduction catalyst, no dosing injector, no nitrogen oxide sensor, no control module that can hold the engine hostage over a urea fluid fault. It runs on mechanical injection. You can diagnose it with your eyes and your hands. You can fix it in a field. It does not care what the software says because there is no software. It has no opinion about your emission system because it has no emission system in the modern sense. It is just an engine doing what an engine does, and the only thing between you and it running is your own mechanical knowledge. That truck is worth money right now, real money, because people are figuring this out faster than the industry wants them to. Older 7.3 Power Stroke trucks are moving fast at auction. The 12 and 24 valve Cummins market has dried up in a lot of regions because the people who know what they are looking at bought them already. The simple analog pre-emissions diesel is becoming a survival vehicle for the people who refuse to be owned by a subscription-based truck that phones home and derates itself when a sensor gets dirty. The emission system on your modern diesel is not about the planet. If it were about the planet, they would have made it repairable by any mechanic with a set of tools and a manual. They wouldn't have locked the calibration behind a dealer portal. They wouldn't have made the parts pricing punishing enough to push people toward a new truck instead of a repaired one. They wouldn't have designed a system that specifically fails harder on the exact duty cycle that working-class Americans actually use. This was always about dependency. It was always about the service bay. It was always about making your truck something you lease in spirit, even after you pay it off in full. Tell me this. Have you personally dealt with a diesel exhaust filter fault, a diesel particulate filter clog, or a limp mode event on a modern diesel? And what did the dealership actually do for you when you got there? Drop that in the comments because those stories need to be heard by everyone watching. If you want more content about the trucks that are built to be owned and the systems being built to own you, hit subscribe. This channel is not going anywhere, and neither is the truth.